This the only way we could get in. This the only way we could get in. But we definitely can't get in because you hear that shit? Kada!
After more than 2 weeks of searching, police say a very specific anonymous tip led detectives back to this abandoned elementary school where they uncovered a shallow grave in the woods with remains that they believe to be those of Kada Scott.
On Saturday, October 18, 2025, investigators arrive back at the wooded area behind the vacant Ada H. Lewis Middle School. They are acting on a more specific tip that told them to go back, look again. The only sound in the quiet Germantown neighborhood is the scraping of shovels against dirt and roots. Just days prior, police searched this exact location and found nothing. But today, the tip is devastatingly correct. They uncover female human remains concealed in a shallow grave. But the real question wasn't just how Kada Scott ended up in that grave. It was the critical, chilling piece of evidence found in a text message, suggesting this wasn't the first time she had been abducted. Welcome to Real True Crime 24/7. To our amazing subscribers, thank you for standing with us. May you and your families stay safe wherever you are. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We bring you the stories the media never fully told. Now let's get into it. Kada Scott was a 23-year-old woman from Philadelphia, a proud Penn State University graduate and a working nursing assistant. Her life was violently stopped on October 4, 2025. When her remains were found, the cause of death was confirmed, a gunshot wound to the head. The man eventually charged, Keon King, was already known to authorities. King had a terrifying way of operating, or modus operandi of stalking, which was captured in a widely shared video that police later used as evidence. We will trace King's trail and expose the system failure that directly led to this murder. A previous kidnapping case against King was dismissed, allowing him to walk free. The investigation did not stop with one suspect. Court documents citing video evidence suggest that 2 people may have been involved in moving and burying Kada's body. This led to a complex conspiracy charge. You are about to hear the full truth about how the pursuit of justice was tragically delayed. Kada Scott was building a life full of promise. Her ambition was clear. She was a Penn State cheerleader and had recently competed in the Miss Pennsylvania pageant. This was a woman engaged in her community, reaching for high goals. Her daily life was dedicated to caring for others. Kada worked as a nursing assistant at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, an assisted living facility in Philadelphia. This career choice showed her commitment to service. When she vanished, her family's support was immediate and powerful. Her Aunt Jana Allen spoke publicly, drawing strength from the community. She affirmed, "We know you're standing with us. We know you're praying with us. We know the city of Philadelphia is behind us."
She walks her dog and, things like that. And they, all above. So that's stalker. That's a stalker. I said, she was jealous. I said, she was having fucking Keon. I said, and she knew what Keon was about to do to Kada. Because Keon asked her, hush. Because Keon asked her, where did Kada live at? Where did she work at? And all the above. Now, he knew Kada already. It's not a mystery he didn't know Kada. He definitely knows Kada. I want y'all to understand, it was never that he was a stranger to Kada. He knew Kada. He knew who Kada was as a person. Kada knew him as a person. But it was not supposed to go to this level because Kada was not in a relationship with him. She was the girl that gave me the jewels. She told her best friend that was talking about Kada on live, she needs to call the police and tell the police what she knows. The girl was like, I'm not telling anybody anything. So apparently the girl said that Keon told Gabby that what he did with Kada, don't tell nobody where Kada was, asking about where Kada at and where she lived at and where she worked at.
But within days of the missing person report, the mood shifted. Police saw some signs that this person wasn't voluntarily missing. Deputy Commissioner Frank Vanori noted it was a troubling missing person report. Due to this early assessment, the case rapidly escalated. The investigation was handed over to the Homicide Unit, with assistance from the FBI almost immediately. The focus now turned to Keon King, 21, a resident of Delaware. Authorities determined King had a connection to Kada. On the surface, he may have appeared normal, but investigators discovered a violent history. King was already facing charges in a separate, similar case from earlier in January 2025. In that case, another woman was allegedly kidnapped and strangled but survived the attack. This previous incident showed a terrifying pattern of behavior. This history of stalking was visually documented. A viral video believed to show King captured him hopping a fence and peering into a previous victim's windows. This video was critical, establishing his modus operandi and history of predatory intent. The most concerning truth was the legal failure that followed the January attack. Crucially, those prior charges were dropped because the victim and a witness did not appear in court. King walked free. District Attorney Larry Krasner later publicly stated that his office could have done more to prosecute King in that earlier incident. This lapse in the justice system enabled King's continued actions, creating the devastating opportunity for October 4th. The conflict between King and Kada intensified rapidly. The coercion started immediately before the abduction on the evening of October 4th. Court records show Kada received a stunning dozen calls from a phone traced back to King. This barrage of calls occurred between 9:25 p.m. and 10:12 p.m. This was the exact time she was arriving for her overnight shift. A co-worker at the assisted living facility witnessed the tension firsthand. They overheard Kada, clearly upset on the phone, allegedly saying, "I can't believe you're calling me about this," expletive. This observation supported the hostile nature of the contact just before her disappearance. The communication reached its disturbing peak. According to court documents, Kada sent King a shocking text, "Kidnap me again." King then replied, planning their meeting, "Better be up too." This exchange confirmed to investigators that the disappearance was not voluntary, but instead the tragic outcome of a forceful history. King's plan showed calculated intent. The planning began the day before. On the late night of October 3rd, King stole the car he would use, a black Hyundai Accent. Investigators concluded this stolen car was the instrument for the abduction the following night. Kada was last seen at her job at the terrace at Chestnut Hill. Her vehicle was found abandoned at her workplace. This suggested her departure from the facility was either involuntary or coerced. The investigative trail was established through technology and surveillance. The stolen black Hyundai Accent was captured on video. It was seen parked at a recreation center late on the evening of October 4th. This recreation center was critically close to the abandoned Ada H. Lewis Middle School, where Kada's remains would later be found. King's cell phone data and the movement of the stolen vehicle provided critical links. The movements show that within hours of her vanishing, Keon King was operating directly next to the eventual crime scene, establishing the clear path to the point of no return. Sometime between the late night of October 4th and the early morning of October 5th, Keon King allegedly abducted Kada and transported her to the wooded area. The combination of phone records, the co-worker's testimony, and the tracking of the stolen car placed King and the victim at or near the crime scene. During the initial phase of the investigation, police moved quickly. They rapidly located several of Kada's personal items near the vacant middle school. These items included her phone case, glasses, and a bank card. 3 days after Kada vanished, investigators discovered a major sign of cover-up. On October 7th, the stolen black Hyundai Accent was found on fire. Investigators noted this was an intentional act of arson designed to destroy physical evidence and conceal the crime. The investigators' case against King was built heavily on meticulously reconstructing the digital and physical trail. They pieced together his phone communications and tracked the movements of the stolen car. Understanding King's pattern of predatory behavior was critical. The chilling viral video of King prowling and the public admission from DA Larry Krasner about the dropped prior charges revealed the true danger King posed. King's own actions became a powerful tool against him. His mistake of setting the stolen vehicle on fire led to additional charges of arson and tampering with evidence. This deliberate act of destroying evidence strongly supported the police's view that the crime was planned and that King intended to conceal it. But the investigation quickly expanded. Prosecutors confirmed that they have reason to believe other people may have been involved after the fact. Court documents detailed video evidence suggesting that two people may have been involved in moving and burying Kada's body. This meant the complexity of the crime had just escalated to conspiracy. The evidence secured the murder prosecution. Following the medical examiner's finding, the district attorney's office filed a long list of charges against Keon King. These charges included first-degree murder, robbery, theft, abuse of a corpse, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. The evidence that fully supported the highest degree of murder charges was the medical examiner's ruling. The calculated steps King took to hide the body, including arson and burial, combined with the cause of death being a gunshot wound to the head. In a move that set a legal precedent, the DA's office revived the prior kidnapping charges from January 2025 against King. This action ensured the justice system would not fail to prosecute him a second time. King is currently being held in jail without bail. His next major milestone in the case is his preliminary hearing, scheduled for November 10th. The comprehensive evidence ensures that King now faces accountability. Following the confirmation of Kada's death, her family released a heartbreaking statement. They shared their profound grief, saying, "Our hearts are shattered, yet we are deeply grateful for the outpouring of love, support, and prayers from people across the nation." They also conveyed their overwhelming pain, stating simply, "Our hearts are broken beyond words." The community's response was not just emotional, it was deeply practical. City Council member Anthony Phillips' office took the lead in collecting food, gift cards, and essential items to support the family during their grief. To honor Kada's memory, her family converted the initial fundraising effort into a justice and memorial fund. The family ensured Kada's memory would create lasting change. They announced that any money remaining in the fund, after covering funeral expenses, would be donated to the Black and Missing Foundation in Kada's name. This powerful decision transformed a private tragedy into a resource for others facing similar struggles, especially focusing on the systemic issue of missing Black women. State Representative Andre Carroll affirmed the community's impact, stating that the public's constant effort was the reason the world now knows Kada Scott. He pledged to honor her memory by working to ensure that no family ever has to endure such heartbreaking loss again. Even with King arrested, the investigation remains unfinished. Authorities are still actively seeking answers to one final critical question: who else was involved? The focus remains explicitly on the conspiracy component of the crime, ensuring the full truth about the secondary suspects is uncovered. Kada Scott was more than just a name in a tragic headline. She was a Penn State graduate, a dedicated nursing assistant, a friend, and a beloved daughter. Her family's final act ensured her memory would become a tool for change. They transformed their grief into advocacy, using her legacy to support the Black and Missing Foundation. This case exposes a dangerous truth. The system failed to stop a known predator, and Kada paid the ultimate price. We must continue to seek accountability for the failures that enabled this crime, and we must remember that the investigation is not closed. The question of who else was involved in concealing Kada's body remains open. If you or someone you know is experiencing intimate partner violence, please reach out immediately. You can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE. You are not alone. What are your thoughts on the conspiracy allegations and the systemic issues revealed by Keon King's prior drop charges? Let us know in the comments below. Don't
Fly higher.
Look at my balloons in front. We just going on. Oh, that has been so nice.
Wow.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind, I am in school, I am in Maryland, And he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, like, I know Kada. And he's like, oh, yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, like, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about, like, the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and this was before Kada went missing. And we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple of days after that, my best friend calls me and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh yeah, like he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh yeah, like he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on. So I'm not knowing that Kada is missing until my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm and I call Keon and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing. Like that girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple of days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all of my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple of days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in. And I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. Like I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah, now I can't see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that. So then a couple of days later after that, I get sent a link on Instagram, and the link was basically my best friend going live, just talking about the situation, saying how I was weird for not going to the cops, and people in the comments were just coming up with their own narratives about the story, and it just got way out of hand and it just spiraled. So you can see somebody sent me the link of the live, and still to this day I have not watched the full entire live. Then people just started asking, who is Gabby? What's the connection? And, she told people that I was in Maryland for school, and it was just a whole entire thing. So, of course, I was angry and I was confused because what is going on? So I text her. I tell her that, that was weird. And yeah. Then I started seeing posts of people saying that they think that I set Kada up, and that why wouldn't I go to the cops, and that I was just suspicious and all of this stuff. And this was never the case. So I do end up contacting the authorities after I seen people just making up crazy stuff about me and the situation. They cut me off. They tell me that they already know what's going on, that they have a close eye on the social media. And they also tell me that my friend did come forth with the information, and they told her that there was nothing that they can do, that the information that she bought them was useless information because they already had Keon in custody, and it was just nothing for them to do with this information. They told me to contact them only if I had anything that could lead to finding Kada, because that is their main priority. Now, I do believe that the person in the live was just kind of taking what I told her and running with it and just spicing it up to make it seem like something that it wasn't, for, I don't know, maybe views. People were saying that, she was walking around and showing what stores Kada would go to, where she would walk her dog, and just stuff like that. I also had one of our mutual friends come to me, and he told me that she told him that we knew Kada our whole lives and we grew up with her, which wasn't the case because we grew up with her little sister. Now, I do think that the person in the live was taking what I told them and kind of just running with it and spicing it up to make it seem like it was way bigger than what it was. And I basically think this because I had a mutual friend that came to me and said that she came to them and told them that we knew Kada our whole life and that we grew up with Kada, when that wasn't the case. We grew up with her little sister. My prayers go out to Kada and her family, and I hope that she can make a safe return home.